let's talk about injuries real quick. It's a constant theme with the Niners, and I think it kind of gets swept under the rug because they win. But maybe if they didn't have this issue, they would win it all. This Football Outsiders has been tracking this for 10 years, and they have a stat called estimated games missed. And in this stat, the Niners have been top 10 like 10 years in a row. So the Niners say it's luck. It might not be. It might be something systemic. This past year, they were ninth most games missed according to injury. You know, Jason Verrett, Trey Lance, a lot of guys. And it seems like it's an issue that if it were luck, there would have been some good years sprinkled in. So if you guys had to put, I mean, I'm sure there's a million factors, but if you guys had to like list a couple, what do you think is contributing to the constant barrage of injuries on this team? Whoever wants to go first, whoever has an idea, we could use something here.
I don't think anyone has an idea, to be honest. And that's the crazy thing about it.
It's the problem.
That's the problem. No one has an idea. I don't think anyone in the building has an idea, because if they did, they would try to fix it already. One thing that I thought was interesting in the comments of that article or that piece was like, someone said that 10-year streak for the 49ers seems to correspond to the first season at Levi's. So I don't know if that has any bearing at all. I wouldn't like to think so, but because the field doesn't seem bad. It's been pretty good, but I don't know if that's an issue. It seems like when they travel to other stadiums too, it seems like that's when the injuries happen. So I don't know if they just need experience on all types, or they need to practice on all types of fields so that when they actually go to these games, their body isn't in shock in these, different fields. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think the 49ers know, but it's something. We just don't know what it is.
Let's see if we can get there. Who's next? I got some thoughts, but I'm going to save them.
Yeah, I don't know. It was back before even this coaching staff, 10 years. It's back before Kyle and John, so, I mean,
it's true.
You got me.
Crystal, any theories?
The only other thing that I can say that Steph didn't say, and that's great what you said, because that's really the one of the main things that I've heard everyone say is that, but that it would be the way they practice, because I guess we practice harder than most people. That's what our players have said when they go to other teams. They talk about the way that we practice, that, it's rougher. But if it's in 10 years, then it's not all, just this Shanahan, regime. It was before that. And I know with Kyle, all the players, I've always heard the ex-players talk about, how it's crazy, like the way that we practice a lot harder than other teams do and things like that. It's a lot rougher and all those things like that. So that's what I could think of was that.
There's a few things. I mean, there is the Niners' history of bringing in players with injury histories. Like that's Javon Kinlaw. And it's not Kinlaw's fault. This was red flagged at the combine. He didn't run at the combine. This was the Niners. They take these calculated risks. So that's part of it. I think another part is, and they've been doing this before Kyle Shanahan got here. I mean, this has been something they've been doing since Balky. But I think another thing, and it's been around since Harbaugh too, but the Niners want to be the most physical team in football on offense and defense. They talk about on defense, all gas, no breaks, extreme violence, all those things, swarming to the ball, all 11 guys in the frame. And then on offense, they want to be the most physical team, yards after the catch, not going out of bounds. They're so proud of the fact that no team won the week after facing them because they beat you up. Well, I think there's a consequence to being that team. I mean, you're going to get injured too, especially when you look at the kind of players the Niners have. Like, Kyle consistently uses scat backs as bell cows. Consistently. Guys who are 200, 205 pounds. Here's 20 carries. Like, a lot of teams don't do that anymore. A lot of teams have committees, but not Kyle, at least the last few years. Also, like his scheme, a lot of these long developing play action passes where you got a tight end or a running back blocking an edge rusher. I mean, that's kind of risky. Just an overall lack of emphasis on protecting the quarterback. I just feel like player safety is not a huge emphasis on the 49ers. Violence is. Physicality is the emphasis. And they feel like, we're so good at drafting. We always have another guy, like, it's part of football, guy. Like, if you get hurt, so sorry. But that's what Kyle always says, man, it's football. So I don't think it's something that they're really super concerned with, which is probably why it's an issue. I would have to say.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Makes sense.
If you make something a point of emphasis, usually it gets fixed. If you know what you're doing. Yeah. And I think the Niners know what they're doing. They're not incompetent. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are very smart. Very smart. I think they look at this as the cost of doing business. And if you see Kyle Shanahan's disciples, they seem to have these issues too. I mean, the Jets were all banged up last year. The freaking Dolphins. Oh. So I think that's kind of...
the Rams had more injuries than they normally have last year as well. So
a little old guy rant, like shouting at a cloud, but I feel like this is kind of a byproduct of younger coaches. I don't know how empathetic they are. I mean, I feel like sometimes these younger coaches look at players like Madden players, like, man, my scheme is great, and you got to execute, and if you get hurt, that's on you. Like, next man up, like, yo, man, you're a teacher. You're a coach. You're trying to get the best out of these guys, not ruin them and run them into the ground and get the next guy. Like, honestly, Kyle's dad, go back and look at Terrell Davis's career, what they did to that poor man. Oh, what they did to RG3.
Yeah.
Oh, just saying, like, this is kind of a pattern, and it would be nice to see a little bit more empathy with coaches around, not just Kyle, around the league. These players are not just the product. I've heard that young coaches call players the product in the league. That's what I've heard. The product? I'm not saying Kyle says that, but that's disgusting. You know, they're not disposable. Yeah. So I would just like to, that's my little rant.